Hi, everyone. Welcome back. This is the last character introduction for Blaze of Cruelty. I am the GM and host, Zuloth. A couple things before we get ahead and get started with the game. The first thing is, um, you know, be kind to each other in chat. Some of the things that might get said during the game, because of the nature of improv, may be uncouth or otherwise might make you uncomfortable from one perspective or another. Feel free to get up and walk away if that happens. Again, we're the supporter of people, and we, are against bigotry and all that kind of stuff. Just it happens as a subject matter and a thing to be challenged by and overcome in tabletop role playing games sometimes. And so I don't want to, sweep that sort of stuff under the rug and say it doesn't exist, because that is not a healthy way of dealing with it. But instead, when it does happen, we face it head on as characters and players and people, and we try to overcome it in the best ways that we can. But sometimes that does mean, coming up against it and situations that do make us uncomfortable. So if you're made uncomfortable by anything that happens, again, sorry about that. Feel free to get up and walk away for a few minutes until that time has passed, and rejoin us when you're feeling more comfortable. As far as scheduling goes for the future, the only thing that I have to say is we're in the middle of figuring out whether or not we're going to bring Lost in Theros back to the streams here. The other thing is for A Blaze of Cruelty and when that gets started. We're considering our schedule as soon as we get done with this particular game. So it's going to be a little bit, it's probably going to be a couple weeks till we figure out what we're doing with the schedule here. But other than that, that's all I got. I'm not really going to put myself on a hefty schedule to try to meet a regular schedule. That's crazy, and suffer burnout that way. I don't really feel like dealing with that right now. I'm just trying to get back into the swing of things. So, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our player, Daniel. You might know him from Lost in Theros. So give me a second. All right, Daniel, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, so I am playing Dominic Lucius Manipole the Third, the third son of the Manipole family, who are vassals of the Charyn family.
That's right.
I have two brothers and one sister, and I'm trying to make my way in the world.
All right, so I'm going to do my read-in now, and then I'll ask you to describe Dominic, and then we'll get started, okay?
Okay.
Oh. The Manipoles are vassals with no blood ties to their liege lords. Their history is narrow by comparison to many noble houses of Cruelty. They had managed to amass wealth on land that was granted to them via investiture for their noble grandfather Dominic Manipole I's service to the Charyn family. He had shed blood with them in an introductory war with the Farlota nearly 100 years ago, a bloody border struggle. The family had made enemies that day. For 2 centuries, or for 2 generations rather, the family has profited from their land and served the Charyn faithfully. In response, the Charyn had left them to their own devices and protected them from any attempts the Farlota made at court or in the field to punish them. This day began like any other for most people, yet it is not so for the Manipole. Their only daughter is getting married today. Dominic, the youngest, finds himself more forgotten than usual on this day. Go ahead and describe yourself.
Well, right in the heart. So, Dominic is not very notable. He is of average height, around 5'10", with an average build, somewhere around 170, with raven black hair, a raven black mustache and goatee, dark black eyes, and kind of typical sun-kissed skin because he spends most of his time outside doing odd jobs for his family.
Okay. So you're waking up in your room. It's getting closer to 9 than anything else. So, and the house has been busy today. What you know about today's events are the following. Just real quickly. You know the wedding is taking place this evening out in the gardens, despite the rain. The manor is bustling with activity, based on what you hear around you in the past couple of days of people coming in, guests and the like. Evelyn is supposed to be marrying Nikolai Charyn. He is Duke Charyn's oldest son. You are invited, but you're not in the wedding party. The house is bustling with activity this morning, and there are more guests here than expected. The major members of the Charyn family, a dozen members of the cadet line, and scores of retainers are here. No one bothered to get you up. The morning is wasting away. Last night you had imbibed a bit too much with some of the Charyn retainers. So you got a little bit of a headache. And it is now your scene.
Ooh. So Dominic will kind of make his way over to his wash basin as I'm envisioning it, and splash his face and kind of mat down his hair.
Sure.
See how he looks in the mirror to try and make himself presentable.
You look like you've gone maybe a round with a bear, but you're okay. You know, you're a little tired looking. You're not as, young as you look in body. The stress of your life has worn on you. You know, you aren't the favorite son, so you don't get everything that you want. You've had to scrape a bit to get where you are right now, even within the family. To get the martial training you have, to get the tutoring for the magic that you wield. And you would think that the magic that you have, one of the only people in your family that has magic, would give you some sort of, or afford you more attention, but you've had to scrape for that attention still. And that stress of having to do all of that yourself, despite a family around you, has aged you a little bit more than expected.
Well, normally, Dominic would spend however much time it took to be as presentable as possible. But on today of all days, I don't think his heart's in it. So he's going to just get dressed in his formal wear.
Okay.
But you can tell whenever he's donning it and straightening out his uniform that his heart's not fully in it.
Right. You put the ring on. You put your formal clothes on, a nice doublet, and good breeches. What you look well appointed. Aside from the fact that his heart's not really in it, You don't put on a silver, cape, buckle, or anything like that. You don't even bother with a cape, really. Do you bother to carry your sword with you?
Nope.
Nope. Okay, you leave your sword in your room. You probably take a knife, but that's about it. For utility stuff and cutting meat off of, bone for meals and such. But other than that, you don't really carry anything with you. You leave your armor in its chest near your bed, with your sword in its scabbard laying over top of the chest. And you head out into the manor. The place is busy. There are retainers from the Charyn family all over the place. They're moving about, moving stuff here and there. The few servants that your family has, while you have become wealthy recently, from your father's machinations on the land and putting together the greenhouse and the various fields to grow what your family is, into growing, the family doesn't have this long-standing tradition and know-how of how to operate as nobles, and this attention from their liege lords, from the Charyn, is overwhelming. You remember back when your father first got the news that this was going to happen. He was overjoyed, and you couldn't stand talking to him for like 2 weeks because that was all he would talk about.
Just another sibling with his doting attention.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Evelyn's getting married. Oh, I wonder what Nikolai's like. Oh, he's such a nice boy. That kind of stuff. Drove you nuts.
I think I will just make my way to the kitchen to fix myself some breakfast.
Okay. You head over to the kitchen, and you find one of your brothers is there. That would be Frederick. Is in the kitchen. He's kind of doing the same thing that you were thinking about doing. There's a roast going on one of the spits, and there's another roast going on one of the other spits. And you look outside, and you look out the window, and you see that they have put together a pit outside for a third roast. So there are 3 whole pigs getting roasted, and they've already started. It's probably like 6 to 8 hours in, and so the kitchen smells amazing, and you're looking around for something that you can siphon from what's going to be put together for this evening feast after the wedding to take and have for yourself that won't be missed, and also you won't get in trouble for, right? And he's already standing there, and he's got like a mouthful of chicken, and he looks at you and he says, and he gives you a thumbs up.
Please, Frederick, don't talk with your mouth full.
See, you're finally up, little Nicky. How you doing?
I find the weather outside mirrors my current mood. How are you doing?
Well, Dom, it's okay. Evelyn's getting married. She's... I don't want to say inconsolable, because that's not the right word for it. But can't talk to her. They've sequestered her. They, being the women, have sequestered her away into her chambers. No one can see her today until the big event. I didn't know that was a tradition. Did you know that was a tradition?
No, I can't say that I did.
Well, no, it's a thing apparently. So I haven't seen her. Mother hasn't seen her. Father hasn't seen her. Just her handmaidens. And what's that woman's name? Duchess Val'Ghast. Yeah. Duchess Val'Ghast. She's a very severe woman. She's in there too.
I thought the Duchess and Duke weren't scheduled to arrive till later this evening.
They're already here. The whole frickin' family's here already. Even their 2 youngest. They're running around, which explains why there's so many of their house guards and such around the place. The Farloda attack. He kind of comes over and he hands you a chicken leg. He kind of comes over and he whispers to you, if the Farloda attack while they're all here, and they didn't have any protection, you could wipe out the whole family in one go.
Dominic's kind of eye him a little wearily and then take a bite out of the chicken.
I'm just saying, man, But times being what they are, I guess it's, people are really leaning into the whole celebrate what you can, right?
I suppose. I noticed neither you nor Father saw fit to wake me up for introductions this morning, I guess.
Oh, yeah. You were doing fine doing the introductions with some of their men last night. Getting friendly with them. We figured, you were gonna have a bit of a bear of a headache this morning, and you didn't need to, be bothered with the big wigs when, you had already endeared yourself to the troops.
You see, that's why Father told me to keep them entertained yesterday.
He's always like that, putting us on odd jobs and such.
Hmm. Speaking of on jobs, where do you suppose he is?
Ah. So, Duke Charyn, right, apparently has fallen very ill. So he has been trying to keep the Duchess company. But really, it turns out that he's been hanging more with the oldest sister, Devas, who was supposed to inherit but has since been passed over for Nikolai. Hot gossip. And so he's spending some significant time with what's her name, Devas, this morning because he can't get in to see Zalas because she is sequestered away with our sister, and he figures if he can get the older sister on his side too, maybe this will go a lot more smoother for us in the future. You know, we might, and this is a big might, but I think this is his game plan here. And he kind of stuffs his face with some more chicken. His game plan, I think, is to get us so in with them that they make us a cadet line through our sister Evelyn, which would be incredibly prestigious. That means we could go with them for all kinds of things. We'd be able to go to court in Fordeath with them as bodyguards and retainers. It's a big deal, Dom. That's a real big deal. So you know him. He's schmoozing right now.
Father did always aim high.
Yeah.
What of Chadwick? Is he around?
He's busy hanging out with that Nikolai guy who Evelyn's supposed to marry. But you should be able to find him. I think they're down by the lake. That is the Anundiak right here.
Hmm. Dominic's gonna just set the chicken wing down, like on the counter.
Yep.
And he's gonna nod and then kind of head off out into the house to get a look around for any kind of commotion going on.
Sure.
Get a feel for the state of affairs.
Yeah. The house is in a state. It's mid getting ready this early in the morning. There's people who are putting up tents outside. They're laying down, not sackcloth, but sort of like a burlap tarp on the ground after the tent goes up to provide dry walking space. The house itself, your manor, cannot support the number of guests. And so for the actual event, you do have people who are put up in the boarding house and such in the village. People who aren't as important as the Charyn family themselves. They have been staying with you all for the past couple days. But the majority of the retainers and such have put together their own lodgings in the village, and the house guards have put together their own little military camp on your land, a little bit down the ways, kind of closer to the lake, between you all, where you are here on this map. That's where your family's land is, and the Farloda, which is here. So they're real close to their duchy. They're 10 minutes down the road from where you are. And so they're kind of positioned as an intermediary. The yard and greenhouses and such are being decorated with streamers and flowers everywhere, and there are rugs, or more like long carpets, being laid out by where the ceremony is supposed to take place, the altar and everything. It looks like when you're moving around, you see down by the water near this little fishing dock that you guys have, there is a gaggle of older men kind of standing about.
Okay. Before I head out of the house, I'd like to take a brief walk by Evelyn's room.
Sure.
And then if the coast is clear, I'd like to try to listen to the door to see if she's inside or if anything's going on in there that
Sure.
I can detect.
Sure, go ahead and make a perception check. Gone with yellow, huh? So, when you're listening in, you hear the typical squeals and chirping and giggles of, women who are having a good time, away from menfolk and away from, expectations of behavior and that sort of thing, right? There's definitely like private conversation that's happening in there. You recognize your sister's voice, but you don't explicitly hear any particular phrases. You recognize your sister's handmaidens' voices. There is a austere and noble woman's voice that you don't recognize in there. And then maybe a couple of other handmaidens who you don't recognize their voices, but it's all kind of like muffled. It's sort of like the teacher from Charlie Brown, where it's
He'll probably stay there a little bit longer than he should before leaving.
Okay. A couple minutes go by and you're still trying to like keep your ear to the door, and you feel a tap on your shoulder.
Dominic will very, very quickly stand up straight and kind of brush off his shirt and clear his throat, trying to act innocent.
You turn around. It's your mother. Your mother, Lady Elvira Manipole, is standing there. She's got her hands on her hips, and she presses her finger to her lips to signal you to be quiet. Takes your arm and starts walking down the hall very quickly, as to not be caught by anybody in sort of a compromising position. When you're clear of the room, she says, "Dominic, were you trying to eavesdrop?"
No. Yes, Mother.
Well, nothing's happening in there that you need to worry about. They're just doing the usual, getting dressed, applying makeups, perfumes, talking about marriage and traditions and what the Charyn family is like. Not really any of our business today.
Well, I know they're doing talking, but is anyone actually listening? Has anyone actually talked to Evelyn about this?
Well, she's excited for it when I talked to her recently. But she's a little nervous, She's young, not really sure what to do with any of that. It's sort of a big scary time for her. She doesn't know what's that's gonna lead to, or if it's really, everybody gets a little bit of cold feet. But she's not really sure if that's the life for her. But then she comes back and says she's really excited about it. She's ready to take these next steps. A little bit of youthful waffling, but that's all right. She's, it's a little bit of an arranged marriage, but Nikolai's a nice young man. He's in his 30s, well established, and smart, well respected in the social circles of the upper nobility. A personal friend of some of the elite guard in Fordeath for the Justier family. So, our little girl could not be in safer hands, I would say.
I suppose there are worse things than marrying a duke's son.
Right. I've heard that the Duke is not well. He could actually die any day now. Which would leave Deves, or no, not Deves, Val'Ghast in charge of the family until she dies. Which there's a slight succession problem right now between the older two siblings, Deves and Nikolai. Nikolai will secure the inheritance with this marriage because he will have the most accomplishments, whereas Deves doesn't really do much. She's more of a socialite than anything, in my opinion. Don't tell her I said that.
Hmm. As with always, Moon. Mum's the word.
Well, we don't want to offend anyone, you know that.
Of course. Will we get to see Evelyn at all before the big event?
I have been informed that we'll get about an hour with her beforehand. And then she'll go back into, those rooms, get ready for the ceremony proper, and then ceremony will happen. Then there'll be the feast and the party. Then we'll all go to bed, and they'll go on to their little vacation in the following morning.
I see. Well, in that case, I should probably go find Father and see if he has any need of me.
Sure. And she lets you go. She says, I think he's in the parlor.
Dominic will take a nod, and then he'll walk out and head off to the parlor.
Okay. You head to the parlor, and you pass by several soldiers from the Charyn family. They've got eagles on their, on their breastplates. A couple of them seem to nod at you like they know you, or they met you last night. Kind of hard to tell with the helmets on, but they're doing a patrol here. There's a man in the far end of their line who's got very sort of ornate looking armor where the eagle motif is dialed up to 11. And you can't really see his eyes in the helmet. It's a fully closed helmet. But you can tell he looks at you while he walks by. Probably the most seen you've actually felt since this whole thing started.
Can I do a insight check to make sure I'm not doing anything discourteous, or if I should salute or anything?
Sure, yeah. That would be more of an honor check for, like, what you should be doing in this scenario. Yeah. You have a pretty high honor, though. So
Let's see.
14 is pretty good.
Let me roll that one.
Oh, and you got 14. That's very good. So he is not someone that you need to salute at all. He is a soldier that is beholden to the family that he works for, either through investiture, like he is sort of like a classical knight in what we would think of, not a Corinthian knight, but he is. The word for it here is Ritger. That's Ritgr. He is a Ritger of the Charyn family. He may be related to them, or he may be like a member of the cadet line, which is very likely, but you don't have to salute him. He didn't, acknowledge you outside of looking at you. You're definitely a lord's son. And he doesn't have any identifying markers on him other than wearing ornate armor. So, as far as you're concerned, the equal and measured response is just looking at him.
Okay, that's what I'll do, and I'll just give him a brief nod of acknowledgement as we pass.
Okay. You find your father in the parlor, and he is sitting across the table from a young woman, probably middle 30s. She has her blonde hair done up in an updo with a bun, mostly, and then probably like the bottom half of the back of her head is left long. And piercing blue eyes, youthful face. She's wearing a dark blue dress, velvet, with some gold embroidery and some other jewelry on her hands and around her neck and on her ears. And she turns as you enter and mid-sentence says, "It looks like we have a new joiner, my lord. Who is this?" Your father turns and he says, "Ah, that is Dominic. Dominic, come here. Let me introduce you to Duchess Charyn. She is the eldest child of Duchess Charyn." She nods her head to you and offers her hand.
I will go up to the table and bow respectively, and then take her hand and respectfully hold it up and then go back to standing right next to my father, kind of off to the side.
Yes, he hasn't invited you to sit yet. He says, "Oh, you were saying before we were interrupted." She says, "Yes, you have a wonderful and lovely operation here. I'm sure we'll get a tour of it after all of this is over, when my brother is, gone off to the Aran Lakes for his honeymoon, and, we are here to, afterwards, to settle this land as, would be befitting of members of the family, while not fully blood related, all of us, but members in law." He seems excited by this and says, "Yes, absolutely, of course. Anything you need. If we have to raise funds to build a new wing to accommodate, that's all right with me." Seeing your father roll over like this kind of makes your stomach turn.
I try not to let it show my face, but I probably have a bit of a grimace.
She catches your grimace and kind of like holds your attention for a moment, and then goes back to discussing these very mundane or boring sort of topics about wealth management and land management and the management of servants and that sort of thing. Sort of like lightly schooling your father in how this stuff is supposed to work and all of that sort of thing. If you'd like, you can make an insight check.
I would.
Now,
Still hungover.
Yeah, are you specifically trying to insight your father or her?
I'm trying to insight my father to see what exactly he's trying to gain.
Okay, you know him very well. You can roll that at advantage, so you can roll again. There you go. That's way better. So he is eating this up. It's like he is being, from his perspective, it looks like he's being let in finally to a world that he's always wanted to be in. And from your perspective, you can tell that she is being quite condescending, but he is missing it because of how much he's wanted this. And he's just playing right into whatever little plan she has as hands. He's overly agreeable to everything that she says, is overly deferential to any idea she has or any correction to something that he says that she makes. He's all about like placating and, playing into her and trying to get into her good graces, so much so that it's a little bit embarrassing from from your perspective. Like this, he's probably got a decade or more on her, and he's built his own business from this land from the ground up after his father died, passing the land to him. And he's letting someone who's probably, how old is Dominic again?
Dominic is past coming of age, so he's around 22.
Yeah, this woman who's like barely 13 years older than his youngest son is probably about the same age as his oldest son. Just kind of metaphorically rake him over the coals, but in a sort of quasi or pseudo educational manner. And he's totally missing it. He's completely blindsided. And you're probably picking up a little bit of him just playing into it because she's very beautiful and he's very charmed by her. But, you know, that's probably about it.
In that case, having seen my fill of the state of things here, I'll wait for a lull in the conversation, and then I'll clear my throat and excuse myself.
Your father waves his hand at you dismissively as you excuse yourself.
Yep, I'll nod and bow out.
Okay. So you go ahead and you leave. You want to go find Chadwick?
Yeah, I'll make my way outside to the lake to see how things are going outside.
Okay. You head down to the lake. You see a bunch of young men who are dressed up. Half of them look like members of the Charyn family. So Nikolai is out there. You recognize him as he's the oldest of these young men out there. Your brother Chadwick is standing next to him. Your family's colors are what? We didn't really discuss that.
They will be like turquoise, blue, and white.
Okay. So he has on a turquoise blue and white doublet with a little bit of a family insignia and crest on it. The other gentlemen have similar doublets, higher quality and colored in House Charyn colors, which are, in a second I will tell you what they are. Gold and blue. So you both have a blue element going on. That yours is more of a turquoise and theirs is more of a royal blue. But the embroidery on theirs is gold, whereas yours is white. You said. So, and theirs has little eagles and such in the embroidery, and it's all very fine. But there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, and the youngest one is probably barely 13 or 14. And the rest of them there are 4 others, and they're in descending age towards that 13-year-old. So there's a total of 6 of these young men here, plus your brother Chadwick, and now you. So that's 7 total standing about. Right.
I'll
2, 3, 4,
throw up
5,
my
6.
hand in a wave as I approach.
8 total. Chadwick says, "Nick, hi, come on down." He passes you a bottle that's already open as soon as you get there. "This is my brother Dominic, everyone." They all say hello. Not in unified fashion, but in various tones. Nikolai turns and says, "You're the youngest son, correct?" He is a taller man, probably about 6'1". He has blonde hair, shorter. He has dark blue eyes. He's got a light beard going. He hasn't really shaved, but he does have his neck shaved already, and the beard's probably not even a centimeter or 2. It's like scruff, purposeful scruff. He's carrying a very ornate longsword on his hip. The guard is like these 2 golden wings spread out, and there's a sapphire in the hilt as well. Everything about this guy screams wealth, power, and confidence.
And would Dominic know his Nikolai's correct title or position? Would he be a lord?
He would be a lord, yes. You would call him Lord Nikolai Charyn or Nord Nikolai Vercharin. He doesn't have a title within the house because he doesn't own any land himself because he's set to inherit the whole duchy. But, you know, he's probably just as powerful technically as his sister. Definitely not as powerful as his mother or father, but from a influence standpoint, like your brother said, this guy knows people all over the kingdom.
Yes, my lord, that would be who I am. Dominic will say as he'll take the bottle from Chadwick and then pat Chadwick on the back.
He says, "You have a lovely estate here on the Inundiak. I hear your father built this from the ground up, yes?"
That would be true. Many a years of hard work.
He nods and says, "Well, we're no strangers to hard work," he says.
I've come down here from the estate to see how y'all were getting along before the festivities truly began.
Oh, your brother says, Chadwick says, "We're just imparting some liquid courage onto our man here so he doesn't run screaming from our sister when he sees her." A little bit of a joke between the two of you.
Can be terrifying.
Nikolai says, "Oh, she doesn't seem as scary as you put it. She seems like a lovely young woman, and I am blessed to be welcomed into your family through this arrangement."
And us yours. And Dominic will take a swig out of the bottle that Chadwick handed him.
Okay. This is strong stuff. This is immediately you're tasting it. This is a maltal red, which comes from the southern region of Corinth, down in the Varanald. The Varanald, just for your information, is this area here that I'm focusing on the stream, but it is, if you can see my line here, everything south of this line, more or less, excluding forest, up to these mountains. So the Varanald is just this region in here, not including the forest.
Is this from our family cellars?
No, this is imported. No,
so Dominic will kind of cough a little bit and sputter, surprised at how strong it is.
Yeah, this is some strong stuff. You turn the bottle over and you see on the back of it a warning. It says, "Corinth's Healers Guild warning. Consuming too much alcohol can lead to erratic and unexpected behavior, impaired vision, loss of sound judgment, inhibitions, and happiness, but also depression. Drink at your own risk."
Brother, what are you serving our guests?
It's, the usual sort of thing that happens here. Father spared no expense when this became a thing that was going to happen, but he didn't want to put money in anyone's pocket who is from this region. Didn't want to, in a roundabout way, offend our guests either.
Dominic will nod and kind of understanding, even though he doesn't really understand, and then hand the bottle back over to Chadwick.
Okay. Chadwick takes a swig, passes it over to Nikolai. One of the younger boys says, "When am I going to get a turn?" They all look at him and say, "No, you're not. You're not going to get a turn. You're not going to get a turn. Just stop asking for a turn." And he stomps off. He'll be fine. He has, the life of a twin to deal with. His sister will happily make him feel better. one of the other young men says, who hasn't really been introduced yet. You're not really too familiar with this family. Nikolai, realizing this immediately, says, "Oh, I haven't introduced you to my brothers. That one stomping away, throwing a tantrum, is Val'Ghast. This one here is Himik. This one here is Kublik. This one is Martel, and that one's Hortova."
In order to make your acquaintance, Dominic will give each one like a nod in turn as they're introduced.
Yep. They give you a nod and a slight bow as they do so. Martel here is a champion horseback rider. Martel kind of like scoffs and kicks the dirt a little bit. "Don't tell them everything about us. It makes it harder," he says.
Makes what harder?
"Getting to know you. If everything's already told in the first 5 minutes," he goes on, "where's the fun in having many late-night drinking parties with each other? Right?" The other
Well
guys...
said.
Yeah, the other guys are like, "Yeah, absolutely, well said. Hey, here!" And they all, pass the bottle around and have a drink.
Can I do a insight roll on Nikolai? I want to kind of size him up.
Sure. Yeah, make an insight check. Trying to figure this guy out. Ooh, natural 20. Very good. How old is your sister again? She's younger than you, right?
She is 3 years younger.
So she's 7 or like 19 or so?
Mm-hmm. Right around there.
Yeah, the first thing you're getting is from like the conversation, he feels put upon by this, but he understands, he gets it, and it's just the way of things sometimes, where being this powerful and having all of the benefits that you have as a noble, sometimes you got to make a deal, and that deal is marrying your kid to someone else's kid for the sake of the family. And that happens a lot when you're the firstborn, and he gets it, but he's not super happy with it right now, especially because there's probably such a gap in age. You're filling a lot of this in your own head, but you're getting these vibes from him, like he feels put upon, which is bleeding down into his brothers a little bit. But he is a paragon of Corinthian values and virtues outside of that. So he feels uncomfortable as well by the whole thing, it seems.
Not getting any red flags or any particular phrases that he says during the conversation that might set something off?
Not really. He's being very careful, trying to... You can tell he's doing his best not to, offend and make this harder for anyone, or make this, into a thing where the two families become at each other's throats and yours loses, like, its land, for example, as, like, a revocation of rights from the Charyn. Like, you can tell he's being very careful with his words, and he's being very careful with his behavior, probably because, he doesn't want to make things harder, because this is not an easy situation. He's definitely hiding something from you guys here, but that thing more concerns Chadwick than you. And so whenever Chadwick is not looking at him and you're looking at him, he's guards a little bit more down. So you kind of get the idea that whatever he's hiding has more to do with Chad than with you.
I think I'll spend probably a little more time out here listening and just participating in the group chat to make appearances.
Sure.
And I'm really biding my time until Evelyn gets released out of that preparatory room. So whenever I'd say whenever I feel like enough time has passed between this group, I'll make my way back over to the house.
Sure. Yeah. You'll give it another couple hours, really. Probably around like noon is when your sister gets released. But so that gives you about 2 hours to commiserate with these guys.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll build on that natural 20 that you got. From their conversation, those little pieces that they're having that are unguarded, your brother is getting a little wasted a little fast too. He's in celebrate mode. These guys aren't getting as drunk as fast. You're putting together that your brother's going to get disinherited and your sister's going to inherit.
Makes sense logically, positioning her with the Duke's family sets
Right.
the family up for a stronger position.
Right, and by disinheriting him and putting Evelyn up as the inheritor, your family will achieve cadet line status immediately, rather than having to earn it through Chadwick another way.
I'll keep that insight to myself.
Yeah, it's going to be very upsetting for Chadwick. His whole life has been looking forward to inheriting from your father. He's been, like, put together, like, everything that he's ever learned, everything that he's ever done has been for that one goal, and it's being ripped out from under him by your father. So, yeah. How do you feel about your brother, Chad, at this point? Now that you're realizing that his entire life has been, so long as the ceremony goes off without a hitch, meaningless too.
I'll probably feel internally that Dominic feels kind of angry about it.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying really hard not to let it show, but the more that he's out there drinking, probably the more of a like scowl that starts to appear on his face.
Okay.
As he loses a little bit of that control of hiding his inner thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the end, he's still family.
Yeah.
And seeing someone treated else like that by his father, even someone who was dolted on previously, is a bit leaves kind of a bitter taste in his mouth.
Right. Okay, so these couple hours go by, and you piece this together closer to the end, so you don't have the scowl on your face for very long. One of the other men says to you, "Not sitting well with you. You did say that it was quite strong, and it's not the usual that you drink." This one's Martel, the horse riding champion. He's about your age. He's 20.
Dominic will look up with kind of a surprised look on his face. No, I'm afraid not. My palate seems to be accustomed to more of a sweeter taste.
He nods knowingly. Go ahead and give me a deception roll. Okay. He says, "I think I know what you mean. While they are rivals, the Zenora Blush from Farlota is a lot easier to swallow. On the other hand, the Vortalcino Black from the Rosenbell is something else. If you've had it. If you haven't had it, well, that'll have to be fixed sometime."
We shall endeavor to try.
He nods and he says, "Somebody's waving at you," and he points up at the house, and there's one of the handmaidens that you know is waving at you, trying to get your attention.
I find that other duties beckon my attention, so if you all will forgive my absence, I will take my leave.
As you begin to go, she also points hurriedly at your brother.
Chadwick, looks like you're summoned as well.
I was just getting comfortable. And he puts the bottle down on the ground, And he walks with you up to the house. You arrive in the house, and you're taken to one of the rooms that is a little bit off to the side. It's not quite your room, but it's nearby your room. And Evelyn's waiting in there. It's a little sitting room with a bookcase. Evelyn's waiting in there. Your mother's in there already. Your father's in there already. Frederick's in there already. And now you and Chadwick arrive. And she's just beaming. She's in this beautiful white and blue dress. She is just ear to ear smiles, laughing at something your father said as soon as you walked in.
On the way in, can I tap pat Chadwick on the shoulder as we're walking by and use one of my lay on hands conditions to try and neutralize a poisonous effect?
Sure, yeah, you can make him sober real quick.
Just as a kind of like a practice motion by now to make him more presentable.
Yeah, he kind of straightens up after you pat him on the back, and he says to you, "You always have a way of snapping me out of it." He has no idea.
Yeah. And I keep it that way on purpose.
Yeah, he enters the room, you enter the room, and like I said, she's laughing at something your father just seems to have said before you got in there. Your mother eyes you as you walk in. Frederick is kind of leaning against the bookshelf. He kind of looks a little dazed.
I'll walk in, say father, mother, and then I'll look at Evelyn and smile and say, Evelyn.
She says, "I am so happy, Dom. So happy. You have no idea." She gets up and she gives you a big hug.
I'll give her a big hug back, probably longer than I should, but she's my little sister.
She says, "So, have you seen him?" And she immediately goes into gossip mode, takes you off to the side, while your brothers and your dad and your mom are chatting a little bit on the other side of the room.
He can spend not a moment but to talk about you.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good. He hasn't even seen me yet. So.
And yet you are already all he thinks about.
That's good to hear. I've, well, aside from the correspondence we've had and the painting Father gifted him, I think he's going to be impressed with this. And she kind of like does a little twirl with her dress. We've been working all day on it.
And you are beautiful.
She says, "Thank you." And you don't look like you've cleaned up poorly yourself.
Well, I try. I don't have a gaggle of handmaidens surrounding me, but I do my best.
It's the lot of the lady, and they're all hands. They just buck the whole time. That Val'Ghast lady is scary, though, I'll tell you that.
I bet.
Probably
Dominic kind of relaxes as he kind of falls into like a usual conversation he gets in with Evelyn.
They're kind of just like going back and forth with each other about, these sort of like little gossipy things that the youngest siblings can get away with while everyone else is paying attention to, Chadwick or Frederick, right? So she says, "Now promise me you're going to keep up the garden and such, because I'm going to have to move. You know that, right? I'm not going to be here all the time like you're used to."
You know that I don't have the same green thumb as you or Mother.
I know, but you've got a little something extra going on with yourself, I've noticed. Chadwick is none the wiser, I'm sure of it, and Frederick, I think, pretends he doesn't see it. Dad's blind.
Maybe you look a little too far.
Well, Dad's totally blind, so you have nothing to fear there. But yeah, I'm going to be living at Eagle's Rest once we get back from the lakes, from the lake country, and so it's not too far away. It's just up the road, really, just up the highway.
So Dominic will take Evelyn's like hand in his and kind of lean in a little bit closer, and he goes, "Is this truly what you want, Evelyn?"
You know, considering everything else that I have going for me, and the fact that he seems like a good man, well respected, well behaved from everyone I've talked to about it. I was writing some of the other ladies that are normally at court kind of as a left field kind of thing. Baseball doesn't exist in this universe yet, but she's making up a metaphor as she goes.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like a western field kind of thing. And are you familiar with who Commander Hallworst is in the army? She says.
I don't believe so, so I'm gonna say no and shake my head.
He's apparently one of the big leaders of the Corinthian military. He's a duke. He's Duke Hallworst. His daughter apparently knows Nikolai and says he's a nice man. So I don't feel like I have a I'm not making a mistake here. You know what I mean? You never really know someone until you spend a lot of time with them, and sometimes you don't really know them in the end. But with family right down the road, and with this tie being so close together, I don't think they would risk like passing off their murder son. You know what I mean? On
Mm-hmm.
someone who could be like a big boon to their family. They wouldn't be doing all this if we weren't worth it.
While she's going on describing how she's feeling, can I do an insight check to see if that's really how she's if
Sure.
she's like nervous or if she's hiding anything?
Sure, yeah, go ahead and make an insight check. You have advantage on her because you know her very well. She's got the jitters, like day of jitters, but she seems very, or more, I'm trying to stop using the word very. She seems like she is committed to this. She's made the commitment to this, and that she plans on following through with it to the best of her ability. And so she's a little
Okay,
bit resigned at the same time. She's very excited. So whatever nervousness is there is coming from excitement.
gotcha. And I'll kind of take this moment too to poke my head up and see how the rest of the room is going.
Chadwick is barely paying attention to whatever's going on here. Frederick is also barely paying attention to this conversation, but he's kind of going through the motions of conversation. Like, all right, I understand. Oh no, that's, it is what it is, right? Your father is going on about, like, stuff that you remember Dev S telling him in regards to wealth management and servant management and that sort of thing. And your mother her eyes have already rolled so far back in her head that she has left the conversation and is looking at a book of poetry, looking out the window.
Hmm. Um, Evelyn, excuse me for just a moment, but I want to take a quick look around real quick.
Sure.
I shall return shortly, though. Okay?
Absolutely. And she goes and stands next to your mother.
I'll kind of move towards the door and kind of exit out, kind of non-conspicuously.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to go through the house again and make sure that everything's going okay, that nothing's sticking out.
Sure. Make an investigation check. So what you notice is, what comes to mind as a answer to is that there are a lot of troops here, kind of like milling about the place. They look like they're doing the job of providing security for the event, right? And that seems to be what's going on. The other thing that you notice, there are two things you notice. There are no other major noble families coming to this. You haven't noticed anyone else who looks as rich as, or like nearly on par as rich as the Charyn. Just the Charyn are here. A couple of minor like nobles from, or not really nobles, like merchants or important people from your village that is down the way that serves your land, your manor here, and maybe a couple of people from Eagle's Rest. But this is kind of like a small affair, whereas normally you're now thinking these things are usually like a big deal, and they're you know, relatives and other nobles are invited to these sorts of things to show off. But the other thing that comes in your head is it's not the Charyn's daughter getting married, it's the Manipole's daughter that's getting married.
Right.
So maybe as an excuse, you're kind of mulling around in circles that perhaps this is due to your family's social status is where you're at, right? Is why that is, rather than the Charyn's social status. They're on a tier and a level above you. Like you'll notice that your manor isn't on this map, but theirs is. So,
do I notice if the guards are in like ceremonial garb, or are they in more like travel or tactical?
they're more in like travel tactical.
Okay. And is the rest of the Lord's family still in the manor?
Yeah, they're about. You find these two youths who look exactly the same. One of them is the young boy from earlier. The other one's a girl, and she's kind of dressed as a young man in that way. She's wearing breeches. She's wearing a doublet too. She's kind of like rolling up her hair to put under a tricorn hat. Looks like they're about to switch places. You know. Yeah, you know they're out and about and around. They're kind of doing their own thing, almost like they're running the place. That might also be due to arrogance and social stature compared to yours. So they're kind of like doing their own thing. But yeah, they're out and about. You see Nikolai and his brothers are still down by the dock. When you do your little patrol around the house, you notice that Deves is gone. She's probably in your sister's room with her mother. That's the first place that comes to mind where she could be. You haven't met Zala S, so you don't really know what she is like or what she's up to. But you're getting closer to time for the ceremony. So
all the tents and everything up?
Yeah, everything's up. It looks like everything's set up. And looks like, you've got a couple hours before the feast, but lunch has already been called, and there are a couple of servants moving around, going room to room with platters and such for people.
Do I see a platter going to my sister's room?
Yes, you do.
Is the servant one of ours?
Yeah.
I'd like to
Intercept?
intercept.
Okay, yeah. You intercept, you stop the servant in a manner. You kind of stand in front of them. They say, "Oh, sorry, sir. I just need to squeak by you," and sidestep in front of him again. Can I help you, sir?
Yes, I will deliver this to the lady.
He kind of like takes a gasp, like he's about to die, and then he kind of hands it to you. He says, "Of course, sir." And now he kind of stands there looking like he doesn't know what to do with himself.
You can go back now, Tim.
Oh, okay. He scurries off.
And then I'm gonna carry it off to my sister's room and knock on the door.
Okay, you knock on the door, you open it. As you open it and enter, the someone follows you in from behind, but you do see the handmaidens of your sister. So a couple of them obviously know that you are not a servant. There's a older woman, probably late 40s, who's sitting in an armchair, wearing a deep blue dress that is black and gold and blue. She seems very put upon at the moment. Um, or perhaps she has one of those faces that's just a permanent scowl. And then there's Deves, who's there, who she recognizes you immediately when you come in.
I'm gonna try to lay on the charm, and as I go in, I'll be like, "Pardon my intrusion, my lady. I just felt like your food should be delivered in person."
Zalas sort of gestures to a table that is for this particular purpose. It's a sort of like a side table for you to place it there.
I'll go over a place there, and while I'm doing that, can I get a good look around the room and the people who are in it?
Sure, perception check. Nice. So as you're kind of doing that, you hear a smaller voice as, you know, you're entering and you're placing this down. Get out the way! And you're pretty sure it's the boy from the dock, the 13-year-old boy who just changed places with his sister, in a dress and wearing his hair long. They're playing, switch places. So it kind of like bumps into behind you and goes and sits down next to his mother. You're aside from that, the people who are in here, you're not really picking up anything else. I mean, a one's a one, right? But
right.
You're so distracted and put off by like that was their plan, that you're not paying attention to anything else really at the moment, visually or auditorily, or even smell wise.
Now that I've gotten at least a look around at them, I'll also bow and then take my leave.
Okay. You bow, you take your leave. You shut the door behind you? Okay, you shut the door behind you.
And I'll head back to the rest of the family.
Okay. As you reach the rest of the family, it looks like they're dispersing. Your sister and mother are starting to leave. I really have to get back to my chambers. Ceremony is soon. So I'll see you all soon, your sister says, and she departs with your mother. Your father leaves without a word immediately, unless you stop him, as soon as your mother and sister are out. Leaving just you and your brothers.
Yeah. I'll kind of like Chadwick and Frederick, but I won't be the first to say anything.
Okay. They're kind of eyeing you. Frederick kind of sighs, says, "All right, what did you just do? You look guilty of something. You did something. What'd you do?"
I have absolutely no idea what you mean.
Do we have to play this game every time? What's going on? You know something, or you did something, or something happened. What's going on?
I am completely innocent.
Make a deception check.
I'm gonna purposely roll this one with I am I'm purposely lying.
Okay. He says, that is salamander shit, and you know it. Do not make me give you a noogie. I will do it. I will do it in front of everybody later, at a time yet to be determined.
Look, I am still completely innocent.
Okay.
All I did was just go introduce myself to the Duchess.
They both kind of like look at you, mouths gape. So what's she like? Is she a bitch? Because some of the people are saying she's a bitch.
It's hard to say. We didn't speak, but she did look put upon.
I assume that when you're that old and everything is, you know, your husband's dying, I guess anything puts you upon. Chad looks at him and says, "Stop making excuses. No one needs to be put upon about anything. This is a happy occasion. Our sister's getting married. Their son is getting married. Their older brother is getting married. It's a happy occasion. We should all be happy for them," he says.
You know, we should be happy for both of them. Why are none of the other noble families invited?
You can see like the gear ticking around in a circle in their heads. Like they're loading. Chadwick says, probably our social stature. We're not on the same level, prestige-wise, so it's a smaller event. That's what comes to my mind.
Yes, but the higher-ups don't lower down, they lift.
Right, but we don't get lifted until she's married. It sounds like he's grasping at straws there. I'll give that from your passive insight.
Yeah, Dominic will look at him unconvinced.
Okay, so this is Frederick. Okay, so 2 questions. What's Devast like? Because I assume you've met her too. Because I assume you've met everyone sneaking around like a little snake in the grass. And what are those twins like? Because I know we've met the boy. I'm sure you've met the girl.
Well, Deves is a little intriguing. Certainly knowledgeable, if not a little manipulative. Whereas the twins, I wouldn't be so sure of which one you met, as I have noticed they tend to swap places haphazardly.
That's brilliant, Frederick says. That is absolutely brilliant. Why didn't we ever do that? Chadwick says to him. Because you're obviously younger than me, and shorter. It would have never worked. Frederick looks like his whatever plans he had been making retroactively about what life would have been like as kids have just been pulled out from under him and set on fire and then pissed on. You ruined everything, Chad. And he says, "Well, I'm gonna go get a little bit more drunk for this." And he leaves the room unless you stop him.
No, I'll let him go.
Okay. He's such a drama horse. King? Queen? Can we say that? Is that allowed? He says. I guess it's allowed. We're in private, right?
And it is a new era.
No. So what? She's getting married before us. Opportunity knocked. Can't blame father for that.
Frederick, surely you, even above Chadwick, see the implications of this.
This is Chadwick. Frederick has left.
Oh.
Yeah.
In that case,
you want to change your answer?
Yep. Dominic will just kind of nod.
He says, "All right." Oh, you were going to say something?
No, it is always beauty before brawn.
I like to think I'm the prettiest, but we know that's not true.
Dominic will shake his head very solemnly.
Oh, I gotta go stand next to Nikolai for this whole thing, so I'll see you later.
And Dominic will also walk out, but to go get in his spot, wherever that is for the wedding, off to the side, I guess.
Yeah, you're kind of in the crowd of guests. So he goes off. The ceremony begins. It's outside. It's still raining, but it's you guys picked a nice day for it in comparison. It's barely drizzling. And there's a beautiful ceremony where Evelyn is married to Nikolai. They are blessed. Reception begins, and there is a great party. There's a big old feast. All these roasts that they had going are beginning to be carved and set out. There's a lot of beer and wine flowing. It's all over the place. And this is outside under these tents at tables that have been laid out for this purpose on these burlap tarps.
Yeah, I think during the festivities, Dominic is going to be kind of sober
Okay.
throughout. Like he'll have a tankard with him, but he'll just pretend to drink from it.
Yeah, you're playing pretend cup right
Mm-hmm.
now. Okay, I want you to make a deception roll for that. Okay, you're pretty good at this game. You've played this before at parties and events, and your sort of forgotten nature in the family has helped you with this, so you don't really get noticed that you're not drinking as much as everybody else is. So, couple quick notes: Chadwick, trashed, absolutely trashed before 2 hours are up, and he's got to get dragged out of there. And it's getting a little later in hours. It's probably about 6 p.m. right about now. Anyone you want to talk to?
Not particularly,
Okay.
but being in kind of a pessimistic mood as I'm kind of sitting there playing with my tankard,
Mm-hmm.
and like everyone's around enjoying the festivities, I'd like to cast Divine Sense.
Sure. This is the one that detects undead, dragons, that sort of stuff.
Allows you to detect good and evil
Okay.
within 60 feet. That is not behind total cover.
Okay. A qualifying evil in this world would be someone who is a follower of the dark gods, or a demon specifically, or someone who is unabashedly without remorse, just someone who just is a killer and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that sort of there are only a couple people that ring that way, and they're among the soldiers that are here. A couple of the Charyn's house soldiers definitely read as these men are true killers and they enjoy their craft, but they're subordinates.
Mm. Yeah, as I kind of look around, like my eyes will linger on them, but I'll try not to make it noticeable.
Yeah, you don't feel any energies of pure evil. There's like no demonic force here. You're not getting the sort of evil vibe that terrifies you to your core. You haven't really come across that, but that is what it would feel like. It would like strike you straight to the core, and then the demon would be aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't feel anything like that. You don't feel anything, supernatural. No ghosts or anything like that lingering about. Just a couple of guys who are just really, really enjoy their job and what it allows them to do. So,
Yeah. So Dominic will kind of chastise himself because he's always looking for the negatives in things,
mm-hmm.
and you'll see he's gonna kind of like chug down his drink, like coming to the realization that he needs to relax
Mm-hmm.
and look for the bride and groom to give his best
Blessing.
wishes to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just for later, how much were you paying attention to those particular dudes?
Now that I've spotted them, they're always going to be people that I keep an eye out for out in the crowd.
Okay. So when you head over to the bride and groom, what do you say to them?
Said, well, I look at Nikolai and I bow and I go, my lord. And then I look over to my sister and I smile and I go, my lady. And I bow to her as well. Kind of like overly dramatically.
Okay. He stands up and gives you a return bow and gives you a cheers. And Your sister gives you the return curtsy and then comes around and gives you a big hug. She says, "Thank you for being here and being a good brother."
I am truly happy for you.
She says, "Good." And then she goes and she says, "Drink up, there's plenty." And then she goes and she sits down.
That I will do. And he'll go get another tankard
Mm-hmm.
and I guess wait until like the dancing and festivities begin.
Okay. Yeah, so the dancing and festivities are, begin in full swing. It's going to be a few hours, and then people are going to start, like, filtering out and going to bed. Um, I'll give you off the top of things. The people that go first are, like, the older members of both families, and children and small children. And then the bride and groom leave. And if you want to leave at any point during any of this, let me know. Your brothers kind of head out at the same time with a couple of the middle Charyn young men, probably to go finish drinking down by the lake or something. And really, the only people that are guests that kind of linger are some of those house soldiers from Charyn, a couple of the important villagers from your village, and a couple of probably important villagers from the Charyn Duchy, and that's about it.
Yeah, so I think Dominic, no matter what, he's still gonna hold himself to like a higher standard,
Mm-hmm.
and he's gonna kind of just stay there till the very, very end, kind of slinking around in the background and eavesdropping amongst conversations where he can.
Sure. Go ahead and give me a perception check. Okay. Because you're paying particular attention to those men who pinged your evil radar earlier, you notice that they are not drinking that much. They're probably drinking intentionally way slower or way less. As far as conversations go, Devis says something to your father, probably close to when she leaves, that makes him blush bright red and then immediately check to see where your wife is. I mean, where, not your wife, his wife is.
Right.
Outside of that, conversations are, typical wedding conversation. Oh, what do you do in town? What do you do in town? How do you know the happy couple? Well, we serve them, obviously, and, what do you do for fun among the nobles? And who do you know among this family or that family, etc., that sort of stuff.
So when does Deves leave the tent, and when does my father leave the tent?
Your father leaves after your mother does, but the older crowd of people leave first. So he leaves probably about 5-10 minutes after she does. Zala S has already gone to bed. She was like the first person to leave.
Gotcha.
And Dev S is probably like lingering a little bit. Because she's the same age roughly as Nikolai.
I guess I will, if she's lingering around the tent, I'll make my way over to her.
Okay. She has a glass of wine in her hand. She looks at you as you approach. It says, "Dominic, right?
My lady.
How are you this evening? Enjoying the party?"
Immensely. How about yourself?
"I'm having a good time," she says.
Can I refill your glass?
"Absolutely," she says, and she passes you her glass.
I'll take it and I'll go refill it at the table and then bring it back.
Sure. Okay. She takes it back from you.
Have you enjoyed yourself?
Yes, this is a great location you have here. Good party. Food was good. Servants need a little bit of encouragement in the right departments, but it's something that can be worked on with time. And the views are good too, she says.
No, thanks for noticing it. It took a lot of work and knowledge accumulated over years of practice.
I'm sure, she says. Totally different tone than when she talked with your father.
Hmm. How about your estate up?
Oh, I rarely spend time in Eagle's Rest. I'm always moving about the country. There are always friends and family to visit here and there.
Hmm. No real plans of your own, then?
I have some plans, but they're mine to keep to myself, she says.
See any areas that pique your interest on your travels?
Hmm. I will say one of the most fantastical places I have been. Most inspiring, which reminds me, I have to speak to Calvin about this. He would make a beautiful sculpture of it. To the east, and I'm sure you don't know this because you probably haven't been out to the. Um, I want to say their old name, but it's not. It's not the correct name for them anymore. The Van Cressa hold out there in the east. There is a road that leads to a forgotten fortress of Kruntz. It's very old. That along that road, there are giant statues of robed skeletons. Very interesting, very strange. Never seen anything like it before anywhere in the country. Probably saw that 2-3 years ago when I went out to visit them.
Must have been some journey.
Mm. Well, traveling east isn't so bad. Sorath to Morath to the Karliger estate, friends of ours, but also rivals in a lot of ways. To Hillsfar and then around the countryside to the Van Cressa. They don't maintain good roads to their estate. They like to have a little bit of privacy to themselves. So,
Hmm. Well, I can assure you here there are no rivals.
oh, you call the the Farloda rivals?
No, neighbors certainly, and ones whose boundaries we are more than happy to respect, but not open, hostile rivals.
Oh, that's a very optimistic attitude, she says.
Hmm. Well, you'll have to forgive me, the hour is getting late.
Yes, and I need my beauty rest, she says. And she goes to leave the event.
So Dominic will take one last look around.
Okay.
Anyone else of importance lingering in the tent, or?
Not really. Your sister and now brother-in-law will be leaving soon, and your look like they're about to leave with a bunch of the other guys.
Hmm. So I'll just kind of watch out for the married couple to make their way. I assume they're going to take a carriage.
Yeah, there's a carriage outside waiting for them. They make their way towards it, probably within 5 minutes of your conversation with Deves.
Is there an honor guard there for it?
Yeah, there are a couple of guys who are wearing similar ornate armor to that one you saw in the hallway that are with them. They mount horses and they follow.
But none of the other guards who piqued my interest?
Not really, no. Now, those other guys are kind of among the group.
Okay. With that, I'll let out a sigh of relief.
You head to bed?
Head to bed.
Okay. You go ahead and load different music. Let's see, what would be the best track for this? Okay. So let me go ahead and give you a little bit of a all right. You go to bed and you stagger into your room, tired from the day drinking, the night drinking. You're just a bit taxed. You go lay down, fall asleep within minutes. Is Dominic a dreamer? Does he dream a lot?
Yeah, he does. That's how he discovered his magic in the first place.
Okay. Dreaming about what do you think he's dreaming about right now?
I think that he would be dreaming about political betrayal. You know,
Okay.
kind of standing alone on a precipice and having someone like whisper in your ear and like push you off the cliff.
Yeah. Okay. Probably inspired from a book he's read about that sort of thing. And today's events with Chadwick being ultimately eventually disinherited, you're probably thinking about that at the same time. You know, about how he's not going to inherit from your father, and he's worked toward that his entire life. That coupled with some dramas you've read and that sort of thing, leading you into a dream about that sort of stuff. Go ahead and make a perception check at disadvantage because you're asleep. Okay. As your dream continues, you begin to dream that you are in this story and you are on a battlefield. Arms clashing against arms. The Charyn, now your kin, are beside you and your brothers as you fight off a Farlodan incursion to your lands. You had thought, this occurs to you, that time would heal these wounds, but it only made this one fester. Go ahead and make another one. Perception
Still at
check.
disadvantage?
Yep. Okay. That's a good roll. Your nostrils fill with the bitter burning of smoke. Your eyes shoot open, and you are racked by a series of coughs as you roll out of bed. The house is on fire. And then you hear the clashing of weapons. The house isn't just on fire. You're under attack. And as you wake up, let me go ahead and make sure this room is set up properly. This is a very limited map. This is you in bed. You've kind of come out of bed as you wake up, so you're here. And there's a man who has come into your room. Armor clad. The room is filled with smoke, but you hear the pop hiss of a respirator of some kind. Mechanical or magical of some nature.
I'm going to do a quick insight check on him.
Sure, yeah.
Try to get intention.
Ooh. He's definitely here to help.
What's going on?
Okay, you say that. And
kind of still waking up
Mm-hmm.
from my eyes.
The guy, the armored soldier comes over, and you look up. You reach your hand up to, like, meet a hand that you think is going to be there to help pull you up. You think maybe he's here to rescue you. And instead, there is a great swing from a sword coming down at you. He hits you as you kind of jump out of the way a little bit. You get a big cut on your arm. That is a surprise attack. We're going to roll initiative now.
Curse my trusting nature.
So go ahead and roll your initiative. Okay, he goes next after you. You go first. As you look up and you're, looking and feeling betrayed by someone you thought was here to help you, you notice that there is an eagle on this man's armor.
Mm.
It is your turn.
Is my sword nearby in the chest?
Your sword, you have your sword by your, bedside when you go to sleep, so it's right there for you. You could grab it and attack back.
I'd like to grab it and attack back.
Okay.
Let's see. Select targets, inventory. Kind of swinging haphazardly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I forgot how to do these things. How do I don't know if it worked.
I don't think my damage applied either. How much you do to me?
You made an 8 roll, right?
Yeah, that's for me to attack him, but I think I missed.
Yeah, you
But
missed.
he cut me, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't apply the damage. There you go. It was 11.
Oh.
Yeah, it's rough. Okay, so you miss with your 8. And, oh, my browser source was offline for those. I'm sorry, I'll have to refund some points. But the, not for you. Refund points for viewers. They were trying to play sounds, and the sounds didn't work. The knight goes and makes an attack on you, and as he does so, he says, "It's nothing personal."
Yeah, I'll snarl at that.
He hits you with a 12.
Can I do a reaction for...
Sure.
Where is it? I know it's in here.
Mm-hmm.
Spellbook. Here we go. Bonus action for... I don't have a reaction, it's a bonus action.
Did you want to do a bonus action on your prior turn?
Yeah. For Shield of Faith.
Okay. Yeah, I'll let you do that. So that would increase your armor class to 14. Okay, so that will miss. He will do his second attack now, because he is committed to this. Let's see here. 19 will hit.
Mm-hmm.
That's another 11 damage. You need to make a concentration check. So that's a Constitution saving throw. Oh, you should have the Shield of Faith on yourself. Yeah. You failed it, though, with a 1. Okay, so that goes off. Just a tip for the future, when you are doing spells like Shield of Faith, whoever you are targeting, it will apply to. Okay?
Oh, so target yourself?
Target yourself for buffs, or target allies for buffs, like you would attack them, right? Target enemies for attacks and spells that do damage or bad effects, okay? Just a tip for you there. Okay, it is now your turn.
Okay, I'm going to yell at this guy as I swing my sword at him. And hopefully...
Ooh.
Oh.
I'm so sorry, man. A 1. You only have the 1 attack, right?
I believe I do. Let me see. That's, yep.
Yeah.
But I have...
Brutal.
Let's see.
You got a bunch of smites in the tank, but they only work if you hit them.
Right. Searing Smite.
The only thing you've got that could help is Shield of Faith right now. So you could put that up and add a couple to your AC and hope he rolls low.
I will cast out Shield of Faith again.
Okay.
As my bonus action.
Alright.
You must target a token, target myself.
And then it should apply to you. Yeah, that worked. Okay. So that'll be the end of your turn. So it brings us back to him. He says, "Don't make this harder than necessary." He's going to attack. That 9 misses. That first attack misses. And second attack, 24 does hit.
Oh.
Rough. This will take you out, because that's 10 points of slashing damage. It takes you to 0. Okay. So as this fades, as your consciousness fades, the following happens. I'm going to end the combat so we don't have that in the way. Move it to the proper hour. It's the next day. It's like midnight. Okay. As you're wounded and unconscious, you're aware enough that you're being dragged through your house. You get that, but you're so out of it from blood loss and pain and unconsciousness, really, that you're incapacitated. You then feel yourself be brought outside. You are vaguely aware of the night air, even though it is incredibly hot from the fire that is raging around your estate. And then you feel yourself placed on a pile of something hard and soft at the same time. There's sort of like a wet thud. And then you hear in your semi-consciousness the following. That's the last one. Forgot there was a third son, my lord. No matter. Burn the bodies, then we can go. What about the house and the other buildings? Those will burn all night. Let them. As moments, or maybe hours. You're not really sure. A lot of time passes, it feels like. You wake and you're stable and present enough to crawl from where you are. Do you want to do that, or do you want to remain where you are?
No, I think I'll gasp for air and then start trying to crawl
Okay.
back to the house in a vain attempt to protect people.
Sure. You begin to crawl towards the house, and you can see it in your blurry vision on fire. The house you grew up in, the house that your family was raised in, the house that you spent your whole life devoted to in one way or another, even though perhaps it didn't give back to you what you thought you deserved. And as you get close, you see that the building begins to collapse and searing heat comes off of it. And you feel this warmth wash over you, and you pass out again, and you believe that death is coming to embrace you again. Do you want to do anything before you feel like you perish?
Yeah, I want to yell out as viscerally as I can. Do I have enough presence of mind to cast lay on hands on myself from my lay on hands pool?
That's probably what that's kept you alive from your wounds, I will say. You're probably injured to the point where that ability is what's keeping you from like dying right now. So getting up and like running around and doing stuff is unlikely here. I'll give you an Arcana check, and if you ace this Arcana check, absolutely.
Let's see.
See if you can work the magic in a active mental fashion rather than just passively keeping yourself alive with it.
Yeah, because right now it's like all. Oh, man,
no. These dice do not want to be with you tonight. That's okay. It's more cinematic this way. What do you want to yell? Do you want to yell something while you're looking at the house, or do you want to turn and see who is responsible for this?
I would like to turn and see who's responsible for this through bloody vision.
Okay. So you turn and you get a look at the bonfire that you definitely just escaped from. It's too bright now and blackened to make out any faces or anything like that, but those are bodies they're burning. And amongst that blaze, you see some of those guys that you recognize from before at the party. Those guys that were definitely enjoying their job because of what it allows them to do. And something in your soul says that last man, the one in the ornate eagle armor, is the same one you saw in the hallway.
That was the Ritker.
Right, the knight. Yeah, the Ritker. Exactly.
Are they leaving, or are they busy about with the pile?
They seem to be like they are getting ready to leave.
I'm going to attempt to crawl away out of sight.
Sure, yeah. You begin to crawl away out of sight, and the house begins to collapse more as the support beams are hollowed out by the fire. Flames rise into the sky, roaring, and every building that your father built is burning to the ground, and they're getting away with it. You can't fight them all. You know you're going to need help You feel like you're about to die, but who's going to believe that the Charyn betrayed their own vassals right after a wedding? You're going to need allies, at the very least, powerful ones. And that's when you feel like death embraces you. Then you spend some time dreamless. It's almost like it is instant between these two moments. You awake to an unfamiliar ceiling. You feel absolutely destroyed, burned, lacerated. Pain racks you. And there's a woman wearing a red cloak that you recall vaguely, foggily, that has been nursing you back to health. You're in and out. You're not sure how long time is passing between these brief moments that you're in and out, but you're picking up some details when this is happening. She has gray skin, like stone, and her eyes are green. You don't share a language, you know that. Or she does not want to speak yours. You also gather that she's some kind of witch or sorceress. And then one day, near early spring, you wake, and she is gone, as is all trace of her, and you're well enough to move again.
I think I'm gonna make my way out of the room and see where I'm at.
You make your way out of the room, and you find that you're in a small hut on the northwestern side of a forest of sorts. Kind of, you can overlook and see through these woods the city of Sorath. And between you and them is the graveyard of Sorath. One of the most famous places in the Sorath province is its graveyard. It's massive. It's absolutely huge. I'm going to show you Sorath right now. You are off map, but this is... Can you see the map?
Mm-hmm.
You're off map, but you're in that direction. Out that way. And you can see this graveyard from where you're standing. This hut, this little tiny cottage in the woods far off from town, is where you've been nursing.
Now that Dominic has some of his faculties about him, he's just going to start destroying everything around him.
Oh yeah, you throw a tantrum and you just start destroying, breaking stuff, throwing furniture, hitting stuff here and there.
Yelling at trees.
Yeah, yelling at trees. And you notice that there is a chest in the room. And it's pretty large. It's a pretty large chest. You know, mid tantrum.
It's next to it.
Yeah, mid tantrum. You notice this, and it's sort of overwhelming. Sort of like snaps you out of it. You collapse next to it. Do you want to open it?
Yep.
He'll
kind of throw it up while he's on his knees.
Yeah, you throw it up on your knees, and inside there is a sword and shield, and a set of chainmail. It's not your chainmail, you know that. It's not your shield, because it's not painted with any of your family colors or anything like that. The chainmail's not yours because it doesn't have any of the little things you've done to it for repair, right? The sword is not the same sword that you had. It's totally different style. You're not really sure where this sword is from, but it's a long sword, you guess. It's a little curved, which is odd to you, and made out of like the hilt and the parts of it that are metal that you can see without unsheathing it are made out of a brilliant metal. It's very shiny, very lustrous.
Yeah, so Dominic will grab it, and he'll have the briefest of thoughts of just ending it here out of the sheer anger he's feeling.
A little... Little Destrudo.
That will
Little.
kind of turn into disgust and then anger at the people who did what they did. And so he'll grab the sword, like angrily grab the sword and the armor, and then storm back out.
Okay. Ready? Do you head to town?
Marches all the way to town.
Okay. Sorath seems to be as good a place as any to um, get started on your quest for revenge. If that's your quest.
That is now his all-consuming motivation in life.
Mm-hmm. You're aware you're going to need help and friends to do so. You're aware that you're going to need to find evidence that this is what happened. Just pointing fingers. You're a smart man. Just pointing fingers is going to get you killed. And while you're on this walk and you're heading towards the town, you realize being who you are is going to get you killed too. Because you're the only witness here. You're probably, in your estimation at this point, the only true Lord Manipole left. You're not even sure if your sister's still alive.
Yeah, at that harrowing thought, death would be too good for the perpetrators. They have to truly suffer.
Right. Justice needs to be done here. But that's going to take a while. You know, going on a killing spree is not gonna do it for you. It's gonna be too little.
Right. To truly suffer is to suffer politically, socially. They have to be destroyed down to the roots. Trimming the tree isn't going to be enough.
Right. So you arrive in Sorath, and you make your way to a tavern, which is right there on the main road there. So you're coming in this way. This place is really spooky. I'm assuming you're gonna kind of steer clear of it a little bit, rather than go through it. What do you think?
He'll kind of make his way to the main road.
Yeah, that's this guy here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But also take the time to try to like cool down and collect himself.
Right. That's a longer trek going around the graveyard. Is a bit of a longer trek, so that does give you that time to cool down. You do begin to go. This map is not to scale. You do go into the city, and you do arrive at this tavern here, the Serpent's Head.
Sorry, you just Doc Brown me, and it's funny.
Yeah, this tavern's called the Serpent's Head Inn. You've seen it before. You've been there before when you've made trips into this city. And it's a place where mercenaries tend to gather a little bit. Some refuse of Sorathi society gather here too. People who are looking for work and that sort of thing gather here. Real dredges. Occasionally someone important stays here, but the real dredges of Sorathi society go to the Serpent's Head Inn. People who are coming to this city who are like nobles, on their way to, the south or the north, they stay in this district here, in Sophia District. Or they stay at this boarding house up here on the top right, so they don't even have to bother going into Sorath. And so that is where we will close for the evening, and we will be back again with all 5 of you in Sorath to begin your campaign proper.
Excellent.
All right. I hope you had fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? As I rip your character's backstory apart and rip his heart and guts out.
I love it.
Okay. Well, that's good. I hope you had a good evening and it was fun. I'm glad that you played with me for this. Glad you joined me for this. And I'm glad chat did the same. I hope chat enjoyed the game and had a good time. I'm sorry the redeems didn't work. I'll have to look into that and fix that. I'm a little bit out of practice for that sort of stuff. Oop.
Who all witnessed the downfall of Dominic?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know who stuck by. We'll have to get a little quick
I'm gonna have to
look
come
here.
up with a new pseudonym to hide behind.
Yeah. Can't run around as Dominic Manipole the Third. That's gonna get you killed.
I think I'm gonna take Tim's name, the servant.
Servant Tim.
Servant Tim.
All right.
I gotta make up a name for him and maybe like a little backstory that I could claim to be him.
Sure. Yeah. If you need any help, let me know. I'm gonna stop.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop the stream now. But yeah, we can chat about that some more.